Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Serving Nerve, where we talk about whatever we want. And today we're just going through the internet. We're going through fat acceptance today. For some reason, I have an obsession with fat acceptance. I don't know why. It's so fun to look at how people become so butthurt, I suppose, by such minimal things that they. Okay, it's weird. Fat acceptance, the only thing I don't really understand about fat acceptance is it's you're not supposed to attribute value to your body, but they make their entire identities in that community all about their bodies. So it's kind of ironic, and I don't know, man. That I personally find that acceptance is something you're just supposed to live with. You're just supposed to live with yourself. You don't have to make it overcomplicated. But whatever. Anyways, today I'm not going to just be going off. I'm going to be going through other people going off, and we're going to go through this compilation and just see how the cookie crumbles. The very, very, very big fat cookie and how it crumbles. And I'm so excited. Now, just to preface this, it's not a bullying video. I actually don't really like bullying people in my videos. I just like bullying myself, which is why half the things I do in my videos only hurt me in the future. So, yeah. Anyways, don't worry about it. We're not going to be bullying anybody or whatever. We're going to make some logical points. And, disclaimer again, I'm a professional of nothing. Just an internet-dwelling little puke, if one could say that. So, if you think you're going to be getting any, grandiose medical advice, you might, but don't take it. I'm gonna be drinking in this video too. In fact, let's make this a video. I have my favorite beer. So we're going to drink every time somebody says something I disagree with. And I'm sure I'll be hammered by the end of it. I'm very excited, so let's just get into it.
There's literally no research to support that losing weight increases your health. The reduction of adipose tissue specifically increases your risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and things like osteoporosis. People that care about...
Okay, already we have to drink. No, that is not correct. She's just womansplaining. And yeah, I can say that because if a man can mansplain, then a woman can womansplain. But no, that doesn't make any sense. You can decrease your risk of metabolic disease by losing weight, losing adipose tissue. Logically speaking, just by changing your diet and eating healthier, lower calorie dense foods, and also more nutritionally adequate foods, and avoiding things that are pretty obesogenic just on a consumption basis, like super calorically dense, hyper-processed foods, maybe just on the basis of that, you decreasing your intake of things that are bad for you, physically bad for you, will help decrease your risk of metabolic disease. You can say it doesn't associate itself with obesity, but that's just not accurate because the first places that your body likes to store fat are your liver, your organs, your fatty covered organs. You have a little bit of fat on your organs, that's pretty normal. Most people need to have a little fat in the system, it's how things work. But obesity on a body fat and physical scale is one thing where you can argue because sure, gravity's gonna hurt, it's gonna be really painful over a course of time to have that wearing on your joints, but the real concern with obesity and metabolic disease and whatnot is actually the fact that if you have all this fat circulating in your bloodstream, covering your organs and filling your liver up, that's the kind of thing that's really gonna help skyrocket your metabolic unwellness. You can see it pretty clear that obesity can be a problem in many cases regarding some of these circumstances. I just don't understand why people can just be no, that's not true. It's just not true. It's just silly. You're being a goose. My guy, you're being a goose. I just don't understand why people, and also, I don't understand how people can look at a collection of data and then get their conclusion from that. It's this person's saying let's go through what they say again, just to make sure about this, because maybe I'm just speaking for them.
There's literally no research to support that losing weight increases your health. The reduction of adipose tissue specifically increases your risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and...
Losing weight increases your risk is what you're saying. You're literally saying the opposite. And also, even just on an anecdotal basis, there are tons of people, just on anecdote, because you're talking about statistics here, just on anecdote alone, that's just not true. People will decrease their body weight, they decrease their fatty acid stores in their body, and they increase their longevity. Some of the longest living populations in the world are not obese. Obese people don't live as long as normal people unless they're from I don't know, the Victorian era or whatever, way back when you were starving to death, and yeah, fatter people lived longer because you weren't dying of disease and starvation. Like, I cannot understand why we have to overcomplicate this that much and act crazy. We can't have an in-between. We can't have being obese isn't good, but at the same time, we shouldn't be anti-fat acceptance. No, instead we're just gonna say that statistics mean that this increases the risk of this. You can literally find the most ridiculous things if you look at statistics and you compare things to statistics. Like, you can literally make any kind of statistic bend to your will if you're smart enough about it, or you just ignore blatant markers. I'm not explaining this super well, but I'm gonna assume that the association is actually a result of you being obese in the first place and increasing your risk of, like, all these metabolic diseases, and then it's like you're not losing enough weight or you're not doing anything healthy, you just happen to reduce your weight a little bit, and that might be a problem too. Like, maybe it's just not enough. But, like, this is the thing. It's like there's no information, there's no logic, there's no study to read, there's no analysis. The data shows the opposite, so I don't understand what data she's looking at is the problem. The data that she is listing just does not make sense.
And things like osteoporosis. People that care about their health don't put their health at risk by engaging in dieting activities. So unless you have a diagnosed medical condition where losing weight is literally the only way that you will get better, losing weight is not healthy. It doesn't benefit your physical health in any way, shape, or form. And when most people say that they're losing weight for health, what they really are talking about is their overall general well-being. And research doesn't support that.
She's just lying. Like, I don't understand. Like, there's no information listed. I want to see a study. I want to see an analysis, a meta-analysis, any data. Give me your data. If you have data, give it to me. I'll read it. I'll literally read it. And if I can't get good at reading it, like if I'm incompetent at understanding it, I will send it to somebody who's a professional who knows more than I do, and then I will get the confirmation from them. Like, this just doesn't make any sense. You can't say that. Like, it's just blatant misinformation. Go to legitimate, like, websites with, like, proven studies. Go to, like, the Mayo Clinic. I don't know, the World Health Organization. Like, anything. Like, look at anything. And if you don't believe in those things, like, why would you believe in this? Like, Jesus Christ. This is just stupid. I need to drink one more time. Silly people. And also, I don't even think fat people who are, like, you know, into body fat acceptance think this way all the time. This is just the delusional thoughts of some woman who thinks, oh, it's statistics. It's statistics. Jesus Christ.
Reports that no matter the body size, if that body is engaging in regular exercise and eating balanced, nutritious meals, they will live longer, happier, healthier lives.
And probably lose weight, because guess what? You would end up eating a proper diet. If you're eating a balanced, nutritionally adequate diet and you're exercising, you're not going to be obese. You're not. And if you are obese when you do that, you're either coming down from a severe state of obesity, or you're still eating too many calories, and that usually does require some sort of unbalanced dietary intake, you know? People are just insane. Like, they have no recognition of the fact that you can gain weight and lose weight by eating less and eating more. And I've done it. Dudes, I've had, like, the whole thoughts where it's like, oh, I'm just naturally skinny. No, I wasn't. I was just eating less. Oh, I'm naturally bigger. No, I was just eating more. Like, my guy, I've been all around the weight spectrum, and, like, I gotta tell you, like, it is what it is. I don't know why we have to create so many lies to justify our existences. It's just diabolically dumb.
It's absolutely nothing to do with the amount of fat on your body. And people that actually care about their health would stay up to date on that kind of research.
You know what? Just to disprove this, I'll list out all the information that I could see as being more relevant than what she's saying, because she has no proof or information or even any statistical data. Like, she literally isn't even showing any data. Give me one piece of data. One piece of data, madam. And then I'll be like, all right, you got me. One. But she ain't got none.
Today I'd like to take a moment to glorify obesity. Ooh, yes.
Fupa's in the chair, Fupa's in the air. Know that girl got Fupa underwear. She got a nice wrist size. Look at that Fupa sitting on them thighs. Fupa.
I'm not a fan of jiggling on camera. You guys know this already. I don't like when people, like, get all naked on camera, jiggle. I don't care what weight you are. I'm not a fan. But saying that, I do like her pants. I don't want her to dance, but I do like the pants. And I just don't like the idea of, like, people showing whatever. Like, I don't care if, like, you got rockin' boobas, alright? I don't care if you look fantastic, like you're a model. I'm just not particularly inclined. It's not my MO. If you see the way that I dress and the way I act on my channel, it's kind of obvious. Yeah, whatever. I'm body closeted, if you can't tell.
Actually, the body positivity movement was...
I just want to read off the little comment because it's hard to read. It seems like the body positive community is only exclusive to those who are fat only. Love yourself by all means. So they're not even, like, saying, like, screw you or anything like that. But, let's take a look at that. Like, what's this lady gonna say?
Actually, the body positivity movement was created in the 1960s by fat black women. It was created to fight against the dangerous discrimination that fat bodies face, particularly fat black femmes. So I feel like a guest in the body positivity movement myself. I'm a white woman who's a size 22. I have white privilege. That's massive because fat phobia is rooted in racism. That's just true. Look it up. Read.
Okay, so then fat phobia doesn't matter then. It's all about racism, and we should be focusing on racism. Like, why do you have a fat acceptance movement then? You should actually chastise everybody who's white then in that movement, or anyone who's not black, because that was originally what the movement was supposedly made for. Like, if you're going to operate by that logic, that just doesn't make sense. I'm not even trying to be discriminate in any regard. Like, by all means, call me out if I sound so. But the reality is, if you're going to operate on the basis of body positivity and body acceptance, I don't even believe that. Fat acceptance, sure, one thing, but body positivity has been around for eating disorder sufferers. It's been around for people who are burn victims. It's been around for people of all kinds of bodies. And, like, what about them? Like, why discriminate even more against other people just on the basis of skin color and treat them like they're guests when they should be accepted just as much as anybody else physically? It just doesn't make sense. And if that's the case, shouldn't it be, like, racially exclusive to black people then, so that they're not discriminated against again? I hate people. I hate these kinds of women. Like, then why are you a part of the movement? It's like you're trying to whitewash the movement. If you're gonna operate by that logic, then you are a parasite amongst the movement and should be removed. That is the level of logic that you're operating on. So why associate with the movement if you're going to only negatively contribute to it, as you seem to be stating? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
But as a size 22, I can comfortably fit in an airplane. I can fit in most, like, chairs at a restaurant. I can find clothes that fit me. But discrimination I do face, and that fat people do face, that mid-sized people do not face, is that crash testing cars, medical studies, scientific research, dosing medications, fat people are left out of that research altogether.
I'm not trying to sound like we shouldn't have this kind of data. Like, I actually love the idea of collecting data, like, on people who are physically more muscular, skinnier, normal weight, super morbidly obese. I want all the information, literally. If I could skin myself alive just to find out what's underneath those layers, I would do it, alright? And that is not a call to violence of any kind, nor a statement of self-harm. That is merely just a metaphoric terminology, which I have to say because I'm not trying to give you the wrong idea here. But the circumstances are that I want all this information as well. I am actually quite inclined for the matter, but that doesn't really, actually prove against the points being made here. But the point I'm trying to make is I would love all this data. It would actually maybe be considered unethical to perform such, or it would give, false positives or false negatives in certain circumstances, and it wouldn't allow you to calculate for all the variables, because, dietary intake and dietary patterns and, weight loss and weight gain in control groups, it's kind of hard to deal with. All this study stuff, I love how all these people are always talking about, oh, there are none of these studies, or there's all this information, and they never list it, they never say it, they never tell you anything about it. But generally speaking, when it comes to studies, they're really hard to control for. There are a lot of variables that you have to calculate for. There are margins of error that come with these studies. It's difficult and complex, so I'm not surprised as to why these things are more difficult to calculate for when you add, obesity into the mix. Mainly obesity, from what I could assume. Although, I would also prefer to have that data because it would help prove some points. It would also help give us information on a series of variables. But it's also on the basis of the world accommodating for you. Should we have the world accommodate entirely, hand and foot, even in a study regard, for the obese, if they make up a smaller population than, say, what is considered the normal weight? We don't want to normalize physical illness. That's another thing. But saying that, it would be important to have this information.
Not to mention, fat people will make less money annually than their thin counterparts of equal education and skill level. It's not just about loving your body. You need to think critically about this.
Again, the only thing I have an issue with this is none of these people are providing any of the information, so it's not like we can, fact check it. We can't, actually read what they're reading. We can't hear what they're hearing. So I'm really questioning, where this information's coming from. Because when I hear somebody say that, there's a pay gap for fat people, even though they're working the same job, same hours, same everything, but there's a pay gap, that makes me question, okay, well, what jobs are we looking at? What are these people experiencing? And why is that? Like, if on a labor board basis, that's a problem. So why are we not looking at that? Why don't you have the information? Like, why don't you have it listed out? Why don't you just give me any study, pop it up on screen? If you can pop the comments up on screen, you can definitely get away with popping up, like, any study, or just link it. Like, I don't know. And this is the other thing. This is on a compilation, so it's a little harder to link things, obviously. But I want this information. I don't understand why I always hear these things from these people, but I don't actually see the information for myself. Because even this person's ironically talking about how there's no data or information on fat people or anything like that. But then they also state, like, hey, there's this pay gap. Where's the information for the pay gap then? Like, dude, provide anything. Provide any information. But I'm just pointing out, like, these people are making all these false claims, or these claims with no proof. I just want the proof. And then they say, oh, but there's this other thing, and there's no proof for this thing. It's just, like, what it is. And it's like, bruh, like, just pick something. Just pick something and stick with it. And don't pick delusion and stick with that, because that'll make you look like an adult.
I hate to break this to you, but you do not have to have abs in order to be healthy. You can work out, eat healthy, and still be thick. Come on now, it's 2020. I thought...
Okay, I'm not trying to interrupt her. I'm so sorry. I don't think she looks bad at all. I think she looks like a physically pretty, like, normal woman. Maybe she would be considered categorically overweight, but honestly, if I were to look in the mirror but honestly, if I were to get on a scale, I'd probably be too. Now, I don't mean to interrupt this dame, but she's actually, like, in my opinion, like, she looks great. I don't really see any problem with this. Also, when it comes to all of these people who are, like, fat and stuff, I don't look at them and go, ugh. The only thing is, like, there's a point with your weight where it will become more dangerous. When I see this girl, I'm like, okay, well, she's pretty well proportioned. Like, she's pretty healthy looking. Like, it looks like she works out somewhat. Sure, you don't need abs. Dude, trust me. I've been 80 pounds, 110 pounds. I almost never have had abs in my life. Outside of, with a cushion to push, okay? And I've been all over the weight spectrum. I've been, like, physically fit to be able to run a half marathon, and I still don't have abs. Like, I get it, man. In fact, like, I'm not one to talk at all, because I'm a little chunked up right now, and my fitness isn't that great. Like, I need to get back on the bandwagon. But, like, if you look at me, you'd be like, oh, well, not obese, And I'm like, well, I'm fucking unhealthy as shit. Like, look at me, I'm drinking beer on fucking camera. Like, yeah, bruh. So I actually agree with what she's saying. I don't know what her channel or her content is all about, but I do agree, like, you don't have to be, like, super, like, slick and, like, slim and shredded to the gills or anything like that to be healthy. That's one thing I can definitely agree with.
We're all on the same page. Health at every size, okay?
No, that's what I disagree with, which we'll drink again too. There's a point with your size where your health will deteriorate. There's a point with your weight where if you go too high on the weight spectrum or too low on the weight spectrum, you will throw homeostasis off, your health will deteriorate. It ain't that deep. Health is not with every size. Trust me, I've been too high and too low before, and trust me, you can feel that you're not healthy, alright? The camera even blurred in agreement at how unhealthy it is. But it's not to say that you have to have abs and stuff like that. It's just to say there is a threshold that we have to operate within. I wouldn't say that BMI is super accurate because it doesn't really calculate for bone density, fat, muscle, differentiation with, like, people's, like, just physical states and forms. Like, you can be, like, 130 pounds as a girl, and then you could also have another 130 pound girl, and one has 13% body fat, and the other has 30% body fat. One eats Doritos every day, and the other eats, like, chicken every day with, like, broccoli or whatever. Like, there's gonna be some differentiation with that, and we can't really track that with just BMI. But outside of that, there's a point where your weight is going to become a problem. There is a point where your weight's just gonna become a problem.
What you look like on the outside has no reflection on how you're doing on the inside. Let's get rid of the idea that skinny always equals healthy, because that's not true.
I actually agree with her. Like, I really do agree with that. Like, you can be really unhealthy when you're skinny. Trust me. I've been really unhealthy while I'm skinny. I've been a normal weight when I'm super unhealthy. Like I've been on a lot of healthy and unhealthy states with a lot of like physical forms. I've actually been like super, like my most overweight, I was considered like the healthiest. Like I worked out every day. I had like weight training involved as well, so it wasn't just all fat. I was like also like, so like you could argue for that. I ate a ton of calories. It was like almost raw vegan. It was like raw till 4 almost. It was like, and that's a long story. We'll talk about that later. But, you know, I like literally was like 170 and I was eating like a ton of healthy food. And it wasn't like I was even super crazy restrictive. Like I'd have dark chocolate and other things, but I was way more on the health nut scale than I am now. Didn't drink any alcohol, didn't smoke any cigarettes, didn't do anything, didn't have any fun. And I gardened all the time because I was like, this will be like longevity oriented. I was so physically active. Like I would work out, I would go for walks, I would, you know, do like gardening and stuff. And I was at my heaviest. And I thought I looked pretty good. And then I moved to America and got shredded, and now I'm back to being a chubsterino again. But, you know, it's to point out, like, you know, there's states of physicality. Like, it's just part of life, you know? I feel like these people overcomplicate these things. I don't like the idea of, like, again, exposing yourself on camera. But personally, even I, like, if I look at myself in, you know, a camera scope with, like, nothing on or whatever like that, I'm always paranoid the government's gonna take my data and then look at my body. Which I know they do. I know they're watching me all the time. They probably watch me bathe. I don't know, but I don't care. But also I do care, which is why I don't do it. But also, I'm just being a schizo. Anyways, but, like, I don't agree with this, I'm sorry. But if I saw somebody else doing the same thing at, like, a smaller weight, I still probably wouldn't agree with it. I'm not a very big fan. I'm not inclined. It just makes me feel dirty when I watch these kinds of things. Maybe it's because I'm vanilla. Maybe it's because I'm a baby. But I'm not inclined. The one thing that does concern me, though, is, like, with your weight, how uncomfortable are you physically at that weight? Because I feel like there's a threshold where you're just gonna be so ridiculously uncomfortable. Like, you can't breathe properly. You can't move properly. Like, that girl, she was like, she can move, but I feel like you would feel your body moving, like inertia almost. Like, it would not be comfortable. I feel like it would just not be comfortable. It's not even on the dissing of looks. I just feel like she'd be incredibly uncomfortable. So, hopefully that's not the case, but I would suspect otherwise. But yeah, my people, that is the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that I'm fat-phobic, racist, whatever the fat acceptance movement thinks that people are when they disagree or question things? I don't know, man. I'm not particularly inclined towards this, but in the next episode, we will go a little bit deeper and try and understand the actual depths of this without having an initial bias towards people who say stupid things. Because listen, I don't care if you're fat. I don't care what race you are. I don't care if you're fat or you're skinny or you're in the middle. I really don't. I only care about one thing, and that's if you're stupid. I do care if you're dumb. I do care, because also, to play the role of a fool is also a very sad fate. Screw physicality, your brain's the only thing that's important, and yeah, being stupid is the biggest curse on humanity. You should always do your own research, never associate with groups on an individualized basis, so you should never associate yourself as a part of a group and then let that group absorb you. You'll lose your sense of self. And this is what happens to a lot of these individuals, in my opinion, is they lose their sense of self, and it's quite concerning, because I think people should be confident more than anything else with their minds, and I feel like the body positivity and fat acceptance movement is so obsessed with physicality that it literally just bypasses the idea of human cognition, and it completely adds divides and creates like grouping of people that should not exist. Like, it's discriminate in some regard, and it's discriminate towards themselves as well. It's not going to benefit them in society. So I hope that the individuals who are in these compilations are a minute subset of the movement. But I must say, I really do hope the best for these people, because I don't think that they're in good headspaces if they're going to let themselves kind of decay in the wake of society. They should be more individualized at this point. I hope all these individuals do well in the wake of society, but at the end of the day, they will dig their own graves, whether it's with a shovel, a knife and fork, or a video camera like the way I'm doing it. But anyways, that's the video. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Tell me what you think about fat acceptance. What's your biggest issue with it? I know that this is a really, like, overused talking point, like fat acceptance, body positivity. But it's a very important talking point to me because I'm really like all for humans being individual and you operating as an individual. And when you get into these like communities and movements, it really does tend to destroy your mind. Like it tends to make you completely lose your sense of self. And that's what I feel like the body positivity and fat acceptance movement do. So anyways, tell me what you think in the comments below. Am I stupid? Maybe I am. I don't know. But at least I'm honest. And I feel like half these people lie either to themselves or to society most of the time. So, I don't know. That's my own delusion. But tell me what you think in the comments below, my people. I will see you later. And I hope you enjoyed the commentary. And yeah, it has been lovely. See you later.